Welcome to the Up on the Soapbox podcast. This is episode 39, and we got a great one today. This time I'm not just making it up, not that I ever have for all of our previous guests. I never made that up, but we got a really great one today with an OG soapboxer from my old homeland up in New Jersey, which frankly I'm going back to visit for the first time in 4 years in another couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that trip as well. With me today is my partner in crime, Dan Piggott. Dan, what's going on with you? You've had a lot going on lately.
Well,
Travel, all kinds of stuff. What's
a little
happening
bit
in
of
your world?
little bit of travel, a little bit of travel. We got to the east end of Long Island in the summertime, and we enjoy it out there. But I was telling Brett earlier this morning, I can share it with you all. We went to the Grange Fair yesterday here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And I know I had never heard of the Grange until I moved to Bucks County about 30 years ago. But it's all about farming and this and that. And so you go there, the kids are petting cows and pigs and llamas and alpacas and goats and rabbits. And then there's the biggest gourds and the biggest pumpkins in the contest. It's kind of a neat thing, and a carnival attached to it. So it's kind of a fun afternoon, sort of like a county fair type thing. And yeah, so that's
I,
where we were yesterday.
I think that's cute. I just go to my neighbor for all that stuff down here in South Carolina, so it's much easier for me.
Right.
Well, very good. I know the weather's been interesting down here. It's in the 80s in August, which is unusual for South Carolina, so I'm enjoying it. Although it is a bad hair day, as you can tell. But enough about us. We got a great guest with us, so let's get right to him. Here's the intro for our guest today, and this is kind of long-winded. I did a little bit of sleuthing. Some of these things might even surprise Brett. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
he's the president.
What you mean? Wait a minute. Some of the ones you're about to make up
That's
will
correct.
surprise
Yeah,
you?
I'm
Oh,
making up
okay.
a bunch. So, president of Harrison and May Branding Company, a new venture, which I'd like to talk about a little bit. He's the president of Imprint Marketing Concepts, and perhaps maybe the most interesting, trustee, the Township of Mahwah Board of Education. And he looks like you're up for re-election. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. It is the Honorable Bett Coplin joining us today on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Brett. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Brett. Dan, thanks for having me. It's a real honor.
You're welcome. We'd love to hear a little bit about your background. How'd you find your way into our wonderful industry? What keeps you here, et cetera? Give us the Brett background.
Yeah, so I met my wife in college, and her father had started this Imprint Marketing Concepts business back in 1986 with a partner. Fast forward to 2000, my parents were selling our home in Connecticut. I had to find my own place, and I ended up moving to North Jersey, knowing that my girlfriend at the time and I would eventually get engaged. We get engaged that December, and I'm begging my future father-in-law for a job. He looked at me, he's like, "No way, you're not coming into this. You're going to go work on your own." I was still, only a couple of years out of college, and I went and worked for Mercedes-Benz. I was working on their auto shows, traveling all over the country, LA, Detroit, Dallas, everywhere for all their auto shows. And then 9/11 hit in 2001, and that, you guys know just as well as I do, that changed the world of travel in the country, and traveling for business became very difficult. And I went back to him. I said, "Hey, I've done what I would need to do. I want a job. I can't keep doing what I'm doing." He said, "Take a $30,000 pay cut and come work for me." So February of 2002, so it's been just over 20 years, I started with IMC, and I saw the opportunity. I knew what I was getting myself into. I had very limited knowledge of what promo was or is. Coming out of college with a business administration degree and economics degree, and concentrating on entrepreneurial studies and marketing and management, promo was never discussed. It's one of the most overlooked forms of advertising in the college realm, and I didn't know what it was. So our partner Mark May, who just recently retired, took me under his wings and taught me the business. And 2019, my follow-up passed away, and in 2021, Mark retired, and I officially took over the business and running the day-to-day, which I have been for about a decade, but officially on paper, I now own the business. So Brett, you asked me what keeps me in the industry. It's the industry. It's what we're selling. I'm not selling the same thing every day.
So talk about the scope of your business right now. Are you a sole proprietor? Is some other help there? You have other sales folks? What's the scope of IMC right now?
No, just like a lot of the independent distributors, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our big years, we've had our small years, and no, I'm not in this by myself. We have support. I have salespeople out on the road. Two of our salespeople have been with us longer than me. They've been with us for 23, 24 years. One actually started as a receptionist and started getting accounts, and we're like, hey, we can't afford you to be our receptionist anymore. So go out and sell. And she's done very well for herself over the last 20, 25 years. So it's not just me. It's a team effort here.
So big picture, what are some of the, you've been in it now for over 20 years or approximately 20 years. What are some of the best changes you've seen in the industry? What maybe are you sort of disappointed in the industry in terms of how it's developed, or maybe there's nothing, maybe you're happy with all the developments as we go forward?
What I've enjoyed watching is the digitizing of the industry, if that makes sense. Going from paper catalogs and having 7 file cabinets in the back of the office full of catalogs to going to websites. Not having to fax orders in or overnight artwork. And now we just send out EPS files or AI files, vector art files. Whatever. That has been super exciting to watch that progression to the point where we have storage, and now I have 7 metal file cabinets that are completely empty. And if anyone wants them, they're free. You can come by Ramsey, New Jersey and pick them up. I want nothing to do with them. So that's been the fun part of the industry. The disappointing part, if I look back, the pandemic obviously was a huge roadblock for us, and seeing what has happened with companies and supply chains, and in my opinion, the consolidation of the supplier side of the industry is somewhat, I don't want to say disappointing, but I understand the business side of things. But as a distributor, I want options. I don't want these suppliers to consolidate. I want you to be good at the thing that you're doing. I want you to be good at drinkware or pens. And we're getting away from that aspect.
Well, and it brings me to the point that on the distributor side, something similar is happening. There's consolidation there. There's acquisitions are really the name of the game these days. And if you're not joining, one of the big national houses, you're most likely taking a look at some of the buying groups that are out there. You, in fact, have remained out of that fray. And I'm just curious what you're thinking. You must have people breathing down your neck, knocking on your door, sending you messages. Why have you made the decision to stay independent, and what went into that thought process?
So you're right, Dan. It's we do, and we've explored. We never say never. So I'm not going to say today that'll never happen, but we've explored those options from the various companies that have knocked on our door that have shown interest. And at the end of the day, it's never right for us, whether it's a financial terms or it's technology or the way that they're structured. It never worked for us. And that's the best thing. That's the only way I could describe it. We're very comfortable being independent. I like that independence. I don't want to have to use something because someone's telling me I have to use it. I want to be able to make that decision to do it. My people are compensated very well. And when we looked at a couple options, we looked at, hey, how would this impact our people? And they wouldn't get compensated as well as they are now. So it was never a win-win for us. Looking back at the original question about, the developments over the last 20 years, that has been somewhat of a disappointing trend in the industry. We saw probably about 10, 15 years ago where there was an unwritten rule where, other distributors didn't poach salespeople from other distributors, and that rule has now been basically thrown out the window. And they're advertising in the counselor. If you're not happy, come join us. So that progression has been disappointing. But look, I'm confident in who we are and what we do. And like I said, we've kept our 2 sales reps that we have for 20 plus years, and the reps that we have outside of them, they're happy doing what they're doing. So I'm confident in who we are, what we do, and I'm not worried about them jumping ship. But it is disappointing to see other distributor groups actively pursuing, other salespeople.
So how do you level that playing field within our industry? How do you position yourself with suppliers to get the same benefits? Can you do that even?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's relationships. It comes purely down to relationships. We over the last 20 years of me being in the business and the last 36 that the company's been around, we have made a big push to have really, really strong supplier relationships. And that has allowed us to either get, preferred pricing or preferred programs, whatever it may be. So that allows us to level. Look, we're not one of the small guys. We're not working off the kitchen table of our home or in our, out of our basement. Nothing wrong with that. But we're also not one of the very, very large guys. And you guys know in this industry, 90% of the business is being done by 10% of the companies. And we're fortunate to be in that 10%. So we're able to leverage that buying power to give us some advantages, hopefully, with suppliers. We build those relationships by buying from them. We don't mess around. If you're going to be one of our people, you're in that group. You're going to be part of that, and that's allowed us to grow and be able to offer our salespeople those advantages.
What's Harrison in May? This is a new launch that I noticed on social media within probably about a month ago. I took notice of it. I don't know how long, if I missed a memo or two, but talk to us about Harrison in May and what's the idea behind that.
So when you look at a distributorship in this industry, we're everything to everyone. Really, we could sell everything to any industry, to any company. And one of the hard parts is finding a niche. Right? Because I could sell umbrellas today, I could sell pens tomorrow, drinkware, apparel, whatever. So Harrison and May branding is strictly premium retail brands. When we looked at what kind of niche we want to go towards, because we wanted to figure out how do we kind of go out and sell something specific. And we wanted to find that product category that we're comfortable in, that we have expertise in. And when we started looking at it, it was either going to be apparel, which we're very heavy in, or the premium retail brands. And we decided to go to the premium retail brands. And instead of doing it under IMC's umbrella, which again is everything to everyone for the most part, we decided to create this new brand, Harrison and May Branding Company. And Harrison and May is kind of a tip of the cap to our founding partners, Ken Harrison, my father-in-law, and Mark May, our business partner. And it's strictly a marketing play. It's not a new company. It's just a brand of IMC. And we're using social media to get the word out, to kind of say, hey, especially with the holidays coming up, you're looking for higher end gifts, we have them for you. If you want to co-brand with JBL or OGO or Mir or Moleskine, we can do that for you. And that's basically the play here. And we're going to see how it goes. IMC, nothing changed with IMC. We're still doing what we're doing with that. This is just another way to kind of go out to market with what we do.
Makes sense to me.
So in reading through, prepping for our discussion today, I noticed one theme in all of your presence online: baseball. Did I nail it?
Yeah, between baseball and my volunteerism in the community, yeah, that's basically a theme of my Facebook presence.
Well,
I'm a big Yankee fan. So,
well, I was going to say, it seems to be your wardrobe presence too. Your dress look like you're ready to warm up in the bullpen for the Yankees right now. I mean, do you have any other colors other than Yankee colors to wear?
I'm channeling my Mark Zuckerberg today with the hoodie.
So I did want to ask you a couple things. First of all, Yankees, but I am pulling for a Subway Series, so we'll be good with that. But secondly, I did see a reference to a wiffle ball league, and I thought that was very interesting because here, let me set this up for you. I live a town away from a town called Rock Hill, South Carolina, and a couple weeks ago, ESPN did the Ocho, which they do every year. The Ocho that came from the movie Dodgeball back in the day. They spoofed ESPN, and now ESPN has kind of embraced it, and every year they do one day where they do these fringe sports. So all this happened in Rock Hill, South Carolina, 3 Fridays ago. It was on ESPN. It took over one of the channels all day long. They had breakdancing. They had, what else did they? Oh, axe throwing. They had cornhole, all kinds of these fringe games. And one of them was wiffle ball. And I thought that was interesting. So I saw that you were kind of in part of putting together a wiffle ball league up there. What's the concept there? That's total fringe sport. Tell me about it. What's going on?
So quick background, I am the president of our youth sports boosters in town. And what we do is we organize all of the youth sports. So from football and soccer to, baseball, softball, wrestling, volleyball, basketball, we organize all of it. And we're always looking for more opportunities to get our kids out and playing. And about 2.5 months ago, a father in town sent me a picture of a handwritten note that his son, who's going in the 6th grade, wrote. And I'm reading, it's an outline of a wiffle ball league. And I'm like, holy cow, this is a fantastic idea. And even better that a kid who's, 11, 12 years old brought it to us and said, hey, can we do this? And if you know anything about me, I have a very hard time saying no to kids. So this was literally the idea and brainchild of an 11-year-old boy in our town who said, hey, Mr. Coplin, can we do this? And right there, I turned to his father and said, well, if we're going to do this, you're going to be involved in it. So the two of us ran with it, came up with a 3-week, 9-night program. And basically what it was your typical sandlot pickup games. Sign up, come to the field. We're going to have the bats and balls for you. We have the backstops. We're going to do a home run derby. You guys pick the teams. We're going to give you the rules. Go out and play. It was not organized. They didn't have different colored t-shirts. There weren't, there was no daddy ball involved. There was nothing. No umpires, just basically parents just watching it. We don't want them to get stupid. We know how 6th grade boys are. They can get dumb. But it turned out to be a huge success to the point where we're actually talking about doing those quote unquote non-traditional sports and bringing in maybe kickball or even dodgeball. The balls are a lot softer when we were in school. So if you get pegged in the face, it doesn't hurt as much. But we're talking about doing more things like that. But and actually, this past Friday night was the culmination of it, and we had an outdoor movie, and we showed the Sandlot movie, the classic baseball movie.
How great is it with no
Kudos.
umpires, no
Nothing.
t-shirts,
Just
figure it
fun.
out yourself
fun.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing. I love it. I love the
Yeah.
idea. It's great.
That's really great. So clearly you're involved with the community. You're leading up the sports program there in the community, and you're on the board of education. For the life of me, and I'm a volunteer. I do a lot of work in my community. I do a lot of work in the industry as well. I have in the past. For the life of me, though, getting involved with something like the Board of Ed is not something that I could even mentally think about doing. So talk to me about what that involves, what drew you to that, and why you keep doing it. You're up for re-election. So that's pretty exciting stuff. So let's hear what's on your mind there.
So my daughter is going to be a sophomore this year in high school. And when she was going into kindergarten, so that's, 11 years ago or whatever it is, a mother pulled me in and said, hey, we know you want to be involved, so why don't you come to a meeting? And they got me involved in the parent organization, like a PTA. They call it an HSO in my town. And from there, I just kind of kept getting involved. I became president of the organization. I'm secretary, VP. I held all the roles. And in 2019, a board member resigned, and there was an opening. And a bunch of the board members came to me, and a bunch of my friends in town said, hey, why don't you apply for it? So I did, and I get appointed. So now I'm knee deep in the education of the kids, and I've been doing it for about 4 years now, and it's been one of the most rewarding volunteer aspects, because board members don't get paid. It's a 100% volunteer activity that I've been involved in town, and I've seen the differences that our decisions make for the good, and sometimes not for the good. You don't always bat 1,000, to go back to the baseball reference, in everything you do, but you try. And it's really rewarding when I come home from a work day and my kids are home and they're talking about what they did in school, and I'm like, wait a second, we approved that budget line. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And in New Jersey, your terms are 3 years. And in Mahwah, where I live, there's 9 of us. So every year there are 3 seats open. It just so happens that this year is my seat. So I'm running for re-election. There's 3 incumbents and 1 non-incumbent. And so there's 4 people running for 3 seats, and we'll see how it goes in the beginning of November.
So you were there during the COVID situation, and I just, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too deeply, but speak a little bit to the experience through that whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say, obviously it turned our world upside down. And to compound matters, we all shut down. I'll never forget, my birthday is March 16th. It was the Friday in 2020. And then March 18th is when they shut the schools down. So Friday was 16th, my birthday, then, Friday, it was the 15th, and the 18th was whatever that Monday was. And they shut it down, and everyone scrambled. Luckily, in my hometown, we have a very strong administration team, and they figured it out. We got right on Zoom, started doing e-learning. Fast forward to, I think it was like April or May, our superintendent decided to resign. So now, not only do we have to manage the pandemic, now we have to find a new superintendent. And if anyone knows, small school districts, the superintendent really is the captain of the ship. And that person is really driving the direction of it. And now we're going basically captainless. But again, we were very fortunate to have a very strong administration team and really stepped up. And look, it wasn't ideal. It wasn't ideal anywhere in the country. But I really believe that what we did was we did the best we could. And for the most part, our kids got an education. It wasn't the same as if they were in the building, but our teachers really stepped up to the plate and did the best they could and gave the kids a little bit of normalcy, at least, through a computer screen.
So speaking of education, again, to stay on that too, I noticed doing a little research about you. You went to Muhlenberg College, so you're a mule, if that's fair to say. Who's the most famous mule? Who's the most famous graduate from? By the way, I looked this up, so I have one that I want to know if you would name the same person.
So first of all, thank you for not calling me a jackass. I appreciate that. Second of all, most famous Muhlenberg grad. So there was a woman who graduated Muhlenberg who actually starred on Broadway.
Okay.
I don't remember her name, but she was the lead in Miss Saigon, if you remember that Broadway show.
Yeah.
That was a great musical, and she was the lead in Miss Saigon.
Well, it's just, I don't think too many people outside of the mid-Atlantic metro New York area even would even know what Muhlenberg College is. It's a small school. But I did notice that a guy who I really admire, David Frick, is a Muhlenberg grad. He's a writer for Rolling Stone magazine for the last 40 years, big time critic in the rock and roll world, and has had a really interesting interview show on Sirius XM for the last, I don't even know, at least 5 years, maybe longer. It calls it the Writer's Block. Writer with a W, of course. You got Writer's Block. And anyway, David Frick, Muhlenberg Mule. There you go. So if you need one, you've got a famous alum there to throw out.
Right. And if nobody in that town is selling Muhlenbergers, then I got an idea for them.
Actually, that's a good point. No one had. In the 4 years I was there, I never even heard that term. So
wow.
IMC, Harrison and May, Muhlenbergers. It's a natural. It's kind of a natural progression.
Like what Mark Wahlberg and his brothers did, right?
That's right, exactly.
Wahlburgers.
They can't have all the fun. Anyway, Bett Coplin, thank you for joining us today. It's always great to be in the presence of another Brett. I know it's elite company. I don't mind saying so.
A 2T Brett, by the way, not
right,
just any Brett.
2Ts, yeah. Exactly. But we appreciate you having around. You're a great ambassador for the Soapbox. We do appreciate that as well. Also, keep doing great for your community, man. I really love hearing about what you're doing there, and it sounds like some great stuff. Your town is lucky to have you, so we'll leave it at that. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Really was an honor.